thing I can do. So it's super weird.
Some of my homework, Brandon?
Yeah, maybe at this point.
I could write some of my papers.
Test.
Senate. So, hey Ollie, how's it going?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Sitting on the good old Senate session.
Oh, you know how I do.
You know how I do. Yeah, I always see you in the gallery. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on your tie. It was like a tie.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I always save these ties for like special nights, so I'm sharing. So yeah, gotta do it.
Yeah, love it. Can't wait to see you rock and roll.
Yep, let's get this rock and roll started.
Sure.
Okay.
No, that's an alien. My roommate made that.
This is baby Nichols.
Yeah, you can hold.
But be careful, his arm is breaking. Very cute.
Senate session of ASCSU will now come to order. First on the agenda, the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are willing and able, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Next on the agenda, land acknowledgement. Parliamentarian, can you please play the video?
Why isn't it playing? That's fine.
Just say it.
Actually, let me try that one more time.
I can just say it.
Go ahead and say it.
Sorry, due to technical difficulties, the acting speaker of the Senate will say the land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations of peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost of native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitments. Next on the agenda, beginning roll call. You want to take over?
Sure.
Active parliamentarian will now call the roll.
Chair Athey.
Here.
Senator Bilodeau.
Present.
Senator Burge. Senator Brown. Senator Brown. Senator Carcedo Perez.
Yeah.
Senator Correa.
Present.
Senator Deason.
Present.
Senator Epperson. Senator Epperson. Senator Kramer. Senator Kramer. Senator Long. Senator Long. Senator May.
Here.
Senator Mumford. Senator Nivert. Chair Morgan.
Present.
Senator Pyfrom. Chair Ritter. Senator Sandoval. Senator Shepherd. Senator Schreier. Chair Silverheart.
Present.
Senator Sandoval is here.
Here.
Senator Sheehan.
Here.
Officer Torres Doxy.
Present.
Senator Trout.
Present.
Chair Welch.
Present.
Senator Whaler.
Present.
Senator Williamson. Senator Sanchez.
Here.
Senator Nguyen.
Here.
Senator Rencher.
Here.
Associate Senator Dorak. Associate Senator Quintana. Associate Senator Reeves. Associate Senator Tefera. Associate Senator Abdunabi.
Here.
Speaker of the Senate Hunter. Speaker Pro Tempore Baum.
Here.
Okay. Roll is done.
Is there any senator or associate senator whose name has not been called? Seeing none, we move into our consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the agenda?
Mr. Speaker, I move to add the minutes from the April 6th Senate session to this consent agenda.
Second.
As all for,
Aye.
all against? Motion passes. Will the parliamentarian please make the change?
And so I'll just say, is there any dissent from approving the consent agenda?
Is there any further dissent in approving the consent agenda? Seeing none, we now have a consent agenda. Approve the minutes.
Nope, that's done. So gallery input.
Moving on to gallery input, is there any member of the gallery who would like to speak? Seeing none, moving into executive reports. Anybody from the executive branch may come down to the floor. Recognizing President Dixon.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you're all doing well. Just a few quick updates. Any of you all involved with BSOF by chance? And we've got a couple in here. Just wanted to extend my gratitude. I presented to their group on, when was that, Monday, for 3 projects for the computer science building, the water fountains that are broken there, and the mold that's slowly been growing in the carpets of the computer science building, and major health implications. Benton was crucial in making the connection there. They agreed to give $16,000 for that project, $15,000 that Benton is contributing, and then the other $70,000 roughly is coming from the Dean of Natural Sciences. So they will have 4 water bottle fillers like the ones in the LSC on all 4 floors, and they'll replace and clean all of the floors and have new carpets as well. So thank you for that. The Immigrant Services Director role that I've shared a lot about over the last couple of months, BSOF agreed to give $70,000 to the position. So with that, the $20,000 from the Office of the President, hopefully $5,000 to $10,000 from this group, and then $36,000 from the fund balance, of which we have a majorly bloated fund balance, as you might have heard, in the range of $400,000 to $500,000 that hasn't been spent over the years and has rolled over. That's available for projects that we can invest in to impact our community. So this will be one of them, and that bill will be coming on the floor next Wednesday. And then the last one was the memorial for students that pass away. We fly the flag at half staff west of the LSC. Mr. Noah Burge was the one who designed that memorial. I would encourage you to talk to him if you have any questions. But they also agreed to give $5,000 to $10,000 for that, coupled with the funds from the Office of the President, and then a hopeful match with the Laurie Student Center on that project. So good news on all of those. Happy to answer any questions or come find me. I'll be working in this back room here on Immigrant Services Director bill. So if you want to stop by, endorse, read it, give me your thoughts, concerns, please feel free to stop by. Thursday, I mentioned this to you all last week, we're celebrating the Palms cheer and the mascots over at Bob Davis Hall in Moby at 5 p.m. tomorrow. The Post Fort Collins is going to be catering the event. It should be a good way for us to say thank you just for the ways that they energize the student body and that they're often not recognized. And then April 23rd at 10 a.m. is our Spring Unity Tailgate, formerly known as Grill the Buffs, where we bring a lot of people together for an amazing community building opportunity in support of charity. In this case, it's the Cystic Fibrosis Philanthropy. Coach Norvell, our new football coach, will be welcoming him to Fort Collins, welcoming him to a new season. And the game is immediately after the tailgate. So tailgates from 10 to 12:45 on the east side of Canvas Stadium. We'll have Brothers Barbecue there, free for everyone who attends. We're budgeting about 1,000 people, so definitely show up, bring your friends, and come check in with me if you have any questions. And then every student that's at the game, $1 will be donated to the Cystic Fibrosis Philanthropy. And then next week, I just want to share how proud I am of Anya Kaplan-Harnett, our Governmental Affairs Director. She's bringing together a lot of decision makers. Let me put it that way. A lot of decision makers in Fort Collins and at the county level will be here for a city council roundtable with students. She made it happen. It's next Thursday in the evening. And I don't have the exact details, but I'll make sure to get that to Brandon. We can circulate out and we should have a post on our Instagram soon. Those are the updates. Any questions for me? If I may, Mr. Speaker.
We'll open up for a little bit of questions. Any questions? Senator Charles.
Sorry, what was the legislation you wanted to look at in your office later tonight,
Yeah.
that proposal?
So the Immigrant Services Director, Program Director, it's a position we don't have right now. It's a department that we don't have to serve immigrant, undocumented, and English as a second language students at CSU. So the bill describes in length the learning tour that I've gone through, the stakeholders I've met with, and the ultimate goals, and how we want to mirror it to institutions like Metro State, UC Riverside, UC Berkeley that are doing this phenomenally well. So
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Cottis, I open it as.
Would that fall under student legal services or?
good question. It wouldn't, I thought that initially, but because we chose inclusive excellence, at least in the bill, the reason being, we recognize obviously the intersecting identities of the immigrant identity, and it crosses many territories. And so inclusive excellence was the most logical connection. Also recognizing that in addition to the legal support and the expertise there, cultural competency, educational programming, general community building, emotional support, academic advising, like all of those other categories are more in the inclusive Office of Inclusive Excellence. So yeah, but they'll work very closely with Penny Gonzalez Soto.
Thank you.
Senator Sandoval,
I apologize, I forgot what I was gonna say, so I yield.
any further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and I'll mention, all right, one last thing. Chief Justice applications close tomorrow at midnight. If you're considering applying, I would encourage you to get your application in. Go talk to Aaron Freeman if you have any questions about the role. And we should be starting interviews soon. If we don't get enough applicants by Friday, there's a potential for an extended deadline. Just wanted to make that known. And at the same time, get the apps by Friday if you can. So thanks, Brandon. Thank you.
Moving on to judicial reports. A member of the judicial branch, please come to the floor. Recognizing Chief Justice Freeman.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, just to pick it up where President Dixon left off is, yeah, if you want my job, please come talk to me about it. I'm happy to talk to you about my job. I mean that in the best way possible. I love my job and I'm happy to talk to any of you about it. And first, if possible, I would like to open up for questions for the opinion from last week. Does anyone have any?
We'll open up to 5 minutes of questions. Any questions? Seeing none,
Okay, wonderful. That makes my life really easy. Not much going on. Branch battles next week is the last week for that. So make sure it's tied between legislative and front desk, and exec is in the win right now. So hopefully y'all can attend next week. I'm looking at changing the elections manager job description. I plan to submit that tonight. We're looking at extending a few things. With the hecticness of this year, I think it's really clear that we need some changes in there. So hopefully that will be on the floor next week for y'all. And that is kind of what I'm working on right now. Awesome. And then Marcus has Associate Justice Zacharias has some things.
So RAE is a project I've been working on all year. What it really is for our underage students here at CSU, if they're in a situation where they've been making some bad decision, they believe that they need medical attention, they could call 911 or get in contact with any student staff here at CSU, and that would prevent them from being in trouble with the student code of conduct process. So what we did is we eliminated the one use of that project, and we're also adding hazing to that for organizations if they witness hazing within the organization to try to lessen the penalties they will see from that. I'm very happy to announce that that goes in front of the Board of Governors this May to see if that starts in the fall of 2022. And I'm opening up for questions if you guys have any at all.
open up to 5 minutes questions. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Now we're moving to confidence business. And the parliamentarian, please put 2 hours on the conference clock. Go on to new business. Since there is no new business, we'll move straight into old business. On to resolution 5109, calling for student debt cancellation. May the parliamentarian please read the abstract, and may the presenters please come to the floor.
Resolution 5109, calling for student debt cancellation. Abstract. This resolution states ASCSU's commitment to student debt cancellation at a federal level, in keeping with President Biden's promise to cancel debt for all Americans.
Can the committee chairs who have made any changes please come to the floor?
right. Hello, everyone. So the only changes we made were, if you want to scroll down, you'll see that basically it wasn't formatted completely correctly, so we had to change the format. But besides that, we looked over and we did some more grammar changes, but like the really only big change we did is that it was endorsed by University Affairs Committee. That was all the major changes.
Is there an author present to accept the changes?
They're not, but they were at the committee and they accepted them there. So.
Okay. Saying that they've accepted the changes. Calling the secretary, please make the changes. Is there any more committee chairs edits or no? Just universal?
No, just universal.
We've got some discussion. Well, next we'll enter 30 minutes of discussion and debate, starting with the first race placard. Senator Wynn.
I've talked to the sponsor of the bill and the author of the bill, and the bill or a resolution, my bad, and it does not specify whether it addresses subsidized or unsubsidized loans, and it does not specify whether it's addressing like graduate students, undergraduate students, or like any type of matter. It's just like a support for a coalition thing, which is like vague and yeah.
Senator Burge.
I agree that the resolution is vague. I do like the motive behind it. I think it is positive to look at ways that we can decrease debt in this country. I don't believe that this is the right way to go, if that makes sense.
Senator Waller.
I think it was left purposely vague because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's merely us as an organization declaring our support behind the president's plan. And that's just the basic idea of the plan and not getting in depth with it, as it still needs a lot of process to move forward.
Senator Chair Welch.
So yeah, it is vague on not really on purpose, but kind of purpose. So like literally all this will be doing is so there's a bunch of universities, student government universities that have like signed like a letter saying that they have joined this coalition. So basically, but they've done it for the president. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to have the student body really say they support it. So that's why we're going through here. Just so then the president will like sign his name on this giant letter of like 120 other student organizations. So that is why it's big. Is this because it's trying to explain something? And it's going to say, okay, then we're going to join this organization or join this coalition saying that we want to resolve student debt or other stuff that the Biden administration is working on.
Senator Cadacero Perez.
I yield to
Any motions of debate moving to the secondary speakers list? Senator Waller.
Yes, and then just keep in mind, just because we support this does not necessarily mean it's going to happen. There's a lot of things that have to go into this, so declaring our support and actually happening are two very different things.
Any more discussions, debate? Seeing none, we'll now enter for voting by roll call votes. I will entertain using placard votes.
motion of placard vote.
So the motion made for placard votes. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All for?
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
Motion passes. This motion passes. Moving on to a placard votes. All for resolution
5109.
5109, calling for student debt cancellation. Please raise your placards high. All against, please raise your placards high. And all abstaining. Abstentions?
No.
With a vote to 11 to 4 to 1, the resolution passes. Moving on to Bill 5114, reallocation and sunset clause for Bill 5023. And the parliamentarian, please read the title and abstract.
Bill 5114, reallocation and sunset clause for Bill 5023. Abstract, this bill seeks to provide RAH discretion over the remaining funding that was given to them by Bill 5023 and create a sunset clause specifically for Bill 5023, approval of BSOF funding for Rams Against Hunger.
May the committee chairs who made any changes and the author please come to the floor.
Considering that only budgetary affairs saw this bill, I would defer over to Chair Silverhart for any budgetary affairs edits to this bill.
Should I come up?
Yes.
Okay.
I could honestly speak from all the
I don't think we made too many edits to this bill. We did decide to endorse this bill as a committee. What else? Am I scrolling down a little more? Of course. We did change the date from May 30th to August 1st, just to give them a little bit more time as they are using the funds. They just are not using the funds at the rate they expected to. So we just gave them a little more time in order to use those funds. And then we made that change again in the therefore clause, and then added a few individuals that this bill will be sent to. So other than that, that's all we had to change.
Does the author accept the changes?
Yes.
Author has accepted the changes. We now will enter 30 minutes of discussion and debate, starting with the first race placard. Seeing none, we'll now enter for voting by roll call. Again, placard vote, entertainment.
I motion to vote by the placard vote.
Second,
Second is
all for,
aye.
all against. As motion passes, we go into a placard vote. All for Bill 5114 reallocation and sunset clause for Bill 5023. Please raise your placards high. All against, please raise your placards. And all abstentions? Say no. With votes of 18 to 0, Bill 5114 passes. Moving on to Bill 5115, funding for lift ramride secure codes for CSU HN. May the parliamentarian please read the title and abstracts.
Bill 5115, funding for lift ramride secure codes for CSU HN. Abstract, this bill is to provide $5,500 from the ASCSU General Discretionary Fund to provide additional lift codes to the CSU HN to increase student access to healthcare on campus and for the advertisement of the same. I would defer to Chair Silverhart for budgetary affairs edits.
Committee chairs and author, please come to the floor.
Hello. So we just changed a few things. I changed myself from a sponsor to, or from an endorser to a sponsor, because I did not understand the difference, but now I do. And then we changed the therefore clause, specified that it'll be with ramride secure, which is different from ramride. And then we also added up to $15 for accessibility purposes to and from the CSU Health Network, something we talked about in our committee. If someone for some specific reason needed a larger vehicle or anything like that, that would be the increase of $3 up to $15 per ride. And then that if and then we added a sunset clause. So if funds are not used by December 31st, should say of 2022. Then the remaining funds shall be returned to the ASCSU fund balance. Other than that, budgetary affairs did not have any more changes.
Does the author accept the changes?
Yes.
Author accepts the changes. Parliamentarian, please make those changes. Now we will enter 30 minutes of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. Chair Athey.
So I have concerns about the necessity of funding for transport to the health center and only the health center. When we have RAM ride to give transport to anywhere, especially to outside health and wellness places, since the health department is not an entirely comprehensive thing for wellness. On top of that, I have concerns about giving yet more student fees and funding to Lyft. In 2014, yes, 8 years ago, the National Federation of the Blind sued Uber and Lyft for its discrimination against service animals. For the context of this bill, I'm only going to talk about the Lyft end of this, but know that all of this applies to Uber as well. As a result of that settlement, Lyft became required to eliminate discriminatory policies and to implement information packets for new drivers to inform them of the service animal non-discrimination policy. Based on that settlement, Lyft is required to terminate its business relationship with any drivers that deny rides based on service animals. However, those settlement requirements have failed. Since 2014, multiple other settlements have been reached between Lyft and the disabled community. Even just in 2020, Lyft reached another settlement based on its discriminatory practices against disabled users of mobility aids. Even as we speak, the National Federation of the Blind is rounding up more evidence for yet another case against Lyft. A business that has proven time and time again that it does not care about its disabled users is not a business that I want to support with my student fees. I spoke about this when extra funding for Lyft was brought up last year, and now again, we're trying to support an ableist business. I fully recognize that RAM Ride exists and is already funding Lyft. That doesn't mean I have to be happy about giving them more money. I yield.
Any other motions, discussion, debate? Senator Correa.
Okay, thank you for bringing up those concerns, Charity. But let me just put it this way. Just because there are some of these concerns that are still there, that doesn't mean that we have to take away the opportunity for students that need such transportation to and from the health center. I completely agree that Lyft does have some discriminatory practices, which they are trying to do better with. They currently do have a policy in which they cannot refuse access to people with service animals, and they have to be as accommodating as possible. The app also has a particular feature, which I'm not sure if I have the app right now, but if you hit that app, it will specifically provide you drivers that are totally okay with having people with disabilities in. So they do have an option, and students do have an option to click on that option to make sure that they get drivers that are totally fine with them, with their disabilities, and are ready to accommodate them. So since this feature is already there, I would request you all to say yes on this bill. Thank you. Unless there are any more questions on it. Thank you.
Just a reminder, please redirect all conversations towards the chair. Please do not call out any other senators or chairs. Senator Waller.
This is just a general question. Do we know if RAM Ride already offers rides to the health center or not? I yield. Okay, how about you then?
So in working through SFRB, we did learn a lot about RAM Ride. The thing about RAM Ride is it's only available on Friday and Saturday nights and some Sundays, depending on if it's a holiday or not, like a heavy drinking holiday. And it doesn't really offer rides to the health network. It only offers rides within a certain area around Fort Collins. So it's not specifically to the health network, if that makes sense.
And then I yield with it.
Chair Athey.
A bit of information before I go. I'm on the secondary speaker list.
Thank you. Senator Trout.
So is there a particular reason why it's only the CSU Health Network that is getting it? There are roughly there's I believe about 15 other health-related centers within, 10, 20 minutes of campus, that deal with more specific, concerns or health, whatever the word I'm looking for. I hope you understand. I will gladly yield to whomever can answer, but is there a particular reason why only the health center is on that list?
Currently, Senator Correa or Senator Cadaceto wishes to be yielded to as a choice.
I will yield to Senator Correa.
Okay, thank you for that question. So the reason why it's only the health center is because what we're doing here is Ramrod Secure is going to purchase these codes from Lyft and hand it over to the health center. And then if a student needs a ride, the health center will be able to give them the code. So right now, Ramrod Secure and Ramride Night Ops are two different things. So what Elijah spoke about is Ramride Night Ops. What Ramride Secure does is the exact same thing what we're doing here. So if a student emails or calls the Ramride office, emails the off-campus life office, they decide if the student needs that particular code or not. So they get an email saying that, hey, I need a code to go to so-and-so place for so-and-so reason. Lindsay Mason decides if they should or should not get it, and then they hand the code over to them. So right now what we're doing is we're trying to make it easier. And instead of our students emailing off-campus life saying, hey, I need to go to the health center, can I get this code? Off-campus life typically takes 2 to 3 days to respond, and that might not be ideal time. So it'd be better if the health center responds immediately on call, because we have currently to access the health center, you can't make appointments online, unlike earlier, you have to call them. And that's when the code could be shared with you, and which is why it's specifically the health center and not places across campus. I yield it back. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the answer for that. I yield.
Senator Sandoval. You raised your placard before you got yielded to.
That's why I raised my placard.
Okay, yield to redundancy. Senator Cadaceto Perez.
My understanding also is that it's to the health network. To the health network specifically, because not all students would be able to have access to the medical services outside of CSU. Like I know personally, my constituents, some of them fall under the CSU health network plan. And I'm totally cool sharing this aspect of myself. But I'm a student that has military insurance, which works here. So to my understanding, that's why it's the health network specifically, if that was more your question.
Any more discussions on the primary speakers list? Moving on to secondary speakers list, Chair Avey.
So what I've heard in response to my concerns is that we are going to fund a project that is decidedly excluding my constituents. That's not something I'm comfortable with at all. Thanks, I yield.
Any more speakers? Senator Correa.
So let me put it this way. My second semester, when I had a back injury and I wanted to go to the health center, I had to ask a couple of my friends, most of my friends being Indian, since it was just my second semester and I could barely talk to Americans. Honestly, it was hard. And I had only one person that I knew that had a car who luckily said yes to drop me to the health center. If they would not, I would probably not be able to go there. So at that point, I had serious upper back pain and I couldn't go to the health center. If this project would be there, it would make it much more easier for me to go there. And I know it would make it easier for students with disabilities as well, since I do have a provision in this bill for them. Lyft does have a provision for people with disabilities. There are chances that a particular student with disability might be disadvantaged. But if you're telling me that just because of 1 or 2 experiences, we are going to take away this opportunity from 500 plus students, then that would be very wrong. And from my personal experience, I know, given the fact that day I wouldn't be able to make it to the health center, if not for my friend, given the fact that there is a possibility that this can happen to any other student, denying them the access to this is doing worst. Thank you.
Any more speakers? Saying none, we will move into voting by roll call.
I motion to do this via a placard vote.
For a second,
Second.
all for?
Aye.
All against? This motion passes. Let's do placard vote. All four, Bill 5115, funding for lift ramride secure codes for CSU HN. Please raise your placards high. All against, please raise your placards. Any abstentions? With a vote of 10 to 1 to 7, Bill 5115 passes. So in the agenda, we'll move on to Bill 5116. Considering that I am an author of this bill, I would like to step down as chair and yield to the parliamentarian.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tempore Baum. Chair Athey, if you could please read the title and abstract of Bill 5116.
Bill 5116, Ramsey stress event. Abstract. This legislation aims to educate, create, and fund an ASCSU ran event in the CSU Plaza called Ramsey Stress. This event would be held May 2nd through May 5th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. This aims to raise awareness of the side effects of high stress, the untreated mental health, and as well as help students relieve stress before finals week.
The advice of Chair Athey, I'm going to go ahead and read the combined edits report for this bill. Okay, so 5116, Internal Affairs Committee saw this bill, so did Budgetary Affairs. Actually, all committees saw this bill. I also made a couple of general changes as parliamentarian, basically just language and a couple of other minor grammatical errors here and there. Other than that, this entire combined report was released during the weekly email, and so I don't actually have to go through this entire report. However, there is one particular provision in here that does have conflicting edits. And so it is right here. Okay, and so internal in this therefore clause basically had this conflict between internal and budgetary affairs. In essence, it's just whether we would direct support for this program to specific directors, the director of campus engagement and the director of health, for example, or just other directors within the cabinet in general. And so I would defer to the authors of this bill to make a decision on that.
We have wanted to get the job description to the directors of traditions and programs and to have support from the director of campus engagement and the director of health.
Okay. All right, and so that is accepted. And so with regards to the rest of the bill, do the authors accept these changes in the combined edits report?
We accept the changes.
Okay. All right, with that, I would entertain any questions from senators regarding this bill. I would open up 10 minutes of Q&A, starting with the first raised placard. I'm sorry.
There is no Q&A, it's just discussion and debate. It's the second read.
Okay. All right, I will open up 30 minutes of discussion and debate with the first raised placard. Seeing none, we will advance to a roll call vote unless deemed otherwise.
I make a motion to use a placard vote instead.
Okay, there's been a motion to use a placard vote. All four?
Aye.
All against? Okay, that motion does pass. All right. All for passing Bill 5116, Rams distress event, please raise your placards high.
Me too.
No.
She said I could.
Okay, all against? All abstentions? Okay. With a vote of 18 to 0, Bill 5116 does pass. With that, I will relinquish the chair back over to Speaker Pro Tempore Bob.
I really like the edit that you did in my title.
1800. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian. Moved on to Bill 5119, ASCSU Budget Reallocation Act. May the parliamentarian read the title and abstract.
Bill 5119, ASCSU Budget Reconciliation Act. Abstract, a bill to reorganize the ASCSU executive budget, reallocating funds that are currently unable to be utilized due to restrictive line item names while opening space to invest in emerging projects and opportunities.
May the committee chairs who have made changes in the author please come to the floor.
This is a combined edits document. I'll just note that really quickly. However, University Affairs didn't make changes. All that there was just endorsements. And so I would defer over to Chair Silverhart for their edits.
Hello again, everybody.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we had a emergency meeting on Friday where we went into very specifics on the bill, going line by line and just seeing what was going on, so that we could get this back on the floor today. And so what we changed, we requested that the first updated computer would be the ASCSU Senate Chambers computer. The way that facilities does things is very specific, so they have in mind what computers need to be changed first. Before it was a requirement, but we changed it to a suggestion per the advice of Advisor Schultz. There was a very small change. Bam.
Right there.
And then in the line item, referring to the movement of money from the Office of the President's Retreats and Team Bonding, the Office of the President discretionary line item, it was increased by $500 per request of President Dixon, just so that they wouldn't have more excess money in Office of the President Retreats and Team Bonding. There would only be 500 in that line item instead of 1,000. So those were the only changes we made. Everything else looked good.
Does the author accept the changes? The author accepts the changes. Now we will enter 30 minutes of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. Chair Silverhart.
Motion to previous question.
Motion to previous question. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Aye. All for? All against? This motion passes. We now enter voting by roll call. Entertain motion for placard vote.
I make a motion for placard vote.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All for?
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. For those who supports Bill 5119, please raise your placards high. All those against, please raise your placards. All abstentions. From a vote of 17 to 0 to 1, Bill 5119 passes. Moving on to Lex 5102, constitutional amendment in the absence of a Senate officer. May the parliamentarian please read the title and abstract.
Lex 5102, constitutional amendment in the absence of a Senate officer. Abstract. The purpose of this Lex is to amend the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University to provide specific guidelines for the elections of Senate officers in the case of an abdication. These elections shall be held no later than 15 business days after the abdication of the previous holder.
May committee chairs who have made any changes, please come to the floor.
Second. So it passes to the university.
Okay, so to start, internal changed Stephen Matthews' title because he is a student. He does not get the formal senator title. We don't use those. Mostly we edited grammar until you get into the therefore clauses. We deleted the second therefore clause because we believe that it was resolved in the changes to the Constitution itself. Along with the same with the fourth therefore clause, we also changed some of the resolved clauses to enacted clauses just to fit the definition of what an enacted clause is, because that's what they were. And the main edits that we made were to the Constitution edit itself. Didn't change the actual content, we just made it fit the formatting. We also, as an example of that, the authors wrote 15 business days. We changed that to 3 regular scheduled Senate sessions because Senate likes to run on Senate session time, not day time. For some reason, that's what we do. And we just consolidated all of it. We did not change any of the meaning written into the Constitution. We also edited the job descriptions as they were requesting in their stuff. They didn't write what the edits were, but they said that this person do this. So we interpreted that as putting it into the job descriptions. So we had this, we added to the Speaker of the Senate that general administrative duties relating to maintaining functionality with the Senate. Underneath that, it's going to say promote any actions within the Senate regarding representation of the student body, especially in relation to internal elections. We added that same statement to Speaker Pro Tempore and to recruitment and retention officer, because those are the people that are in charge of advertising those elections. Those are all the changes we made. Oh, and we also added that it needs to go to Tony Frank, Chancellor of Colorado State System, because every piece of legislation has to go to him. So that's it.
Is there an author to accept the changes? Senator Sample?
Rob had asked me to stand in for him due to a family emergency, so I accepted the changes on behalf of Rob.
The author accepts the changes. Considering this is the second reading of the Lex, with this, the Lex will move to University Affairs.
That's a vote still.
I do.
Yes, sorry.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Lex requires 2 votes. So therefore, it would have to require a vote here today in the Senate in order for it to advance to a 3rd reading. From there, we would send it over to committee. And so
Apologize for the error. For those who accept Lex 5102 to move to University Affairs, please raise your placards high. And those against, please raise your placards. And those abstaining? Any abstentions? With a vote of 16 to 0 to 1, Lex 5102 will move to University Affairs.
Point of information.
Information.
Okay, so I would gladly yield to someone on the judiciary branch for this. From what I understand, our Constitution was not ratified this year nor last year, and we're currently working on within a Constitution from 2 years ago. So my question is, would this change to our Constitution even take effect until next year?
Either or.
I'll yield to Parliamentarian Clark.
And I will yield over to Chief Justice Freeman.
At least to my understanding, last year it did get ratified. They did get over 10% of the vote. Christian and Mary did. They did not. They did not. So no, it was not been ratified in the last 2 years. So it's kind of up to y'all again, as there's no precedent for this. Y'all can make Lexes and choose to follow them through. And that's your prerogative. I'm really hoping that's the right word. Or someone could challenge it and say you can't do any of the elections in the last 2 years until the Constitution's ratified. It's up to your decision now, and the Supreme Court is open to an opinion on that as well. Does that answer your question? Doesn't give like a yes or no, it just is like a up to y'all.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, reclaiming back my time. Honestly, after reviewing the Constitution and the bylaws after the elections last week, my interpretations of how things should operate from here would stand that we are currently operating under the 51st Senate Constitution, where all of the changes adopted last year and this year are still in effect until the 52nd Senate takes place. Also, in addition to that, the Constitution does state that all constitutional amendments have to be submitted prior to spring break for inclusion on the general ballot for ratification. My understanding is that any constitutional amendments that were made after the general election would be included in next year's ballots and would be subject to implementation. And so say, for example, that this Lex passes and is signed, it would actually be implemented, but it would be included in next year's ballot for ratification. And so, yeah, and it would not be voided when the 52nd starts. And with that, I yield.
Back to Senator Deason.
Those answers answer my question. I yield my time. Thank you.
Cool. Next on the agenda, we'll move on to committee reports, starting with Chair of Budgetary Affairs.
Hello, everybody. Chair Alex Silverhart, he, him, his pronouns. Not too much to say. We've had a good amount of legislation in the past few weeks, so we have used a good chunk of our budget. So good job, everybody. Little round of applause. Yes, very cool. But yeah, we still have I think a few $10,000 left. I'm gonna look at the budget tomorrow and send out specific information regarding that. But please get legislation in if you are interested in writing legislation. Parliamentarian Clark has extended the deadline from Wednesday back to Friday, I think just for the next few weeks, in order to give senators, associate senators, and whoever else more time to write bills, resolutions, and whatnot. Okay. So yeah, just keep writing legislation. Budgetary meets 2 to 3 on Wednesdays. We had a relatively good attendance today, but I know committees in general have not been having the best attendance. So just a reminder, it is required or highly suggested to come to at least one committee a week, even if you're zooming in and not paying the most attention. It's still nice to be there and have voting members to look over this legislation before it hits the floor. Besides that, I yield my time and thank you.
Chair of Internal Affairs.
Internal Affairs looked at the bike bill, but we didn't finish it. However, we are expecting to get the exact job descriptions next week. So we will be having a 2-hour session this week to get all of our current business finished before we can look at that giant document. Please come to Internal this week. Because like Chair Silverhart said, we've had some really low attendance lately. We really need to get some input on these documents. I know we're in the home stretch of getting done with the year, but the documents that are coming through now are the most important part of the year. Secondly, the Social Justice Book Library Forum has been up for a few weeks and I received 6 responses. I would like to motion that we have a vote to rank the books in order, in the order that the Senate would like them. I am currently unaware of the money that is left in that fund, and so that's why we're doing ranking so that I can just buy them in order to use up all of that fund. I'm going to count the votes and I'll announce them at the end of Senate, but I won't be able to tell the Senate how many options we are able to buy until next week. So I motion to just pass these pages out and have people fill them out.
there a second?
Seconded.
All for?
Aye.
All against? Cool. This motion passes. You may pass out the papers.
Thanks. Also, I cut these really poorly. So I'm just gonna read them really fast so that everyone knows what they say. It's just the instructions that got cut off. All of the voting stuff is still the same. So it says, please rank your choices for books to buy with the last of the social justice book library. First option is Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Sad. Second one is Prosecution of George W. Bush for Murder by Vincent Bugliosi. I am terrible at names and I'm really sorry. The third option is How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Fourth is So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Olu. Fifth is The Declining Significance of Race by William Julius Wilson. Sixth is Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela White Davis. Also, associates can vote in this vote. Thank you. Just rank them. Put whatever order you want us to buy them. That's the order you should rank. Thanks.
Just number your rankings from 1 through 5. 6, 1 through 6, from most important to least important in your opinions.
I have more information.
Your point of information, Chair Morgan.
Uh, could we possibly give you this ranking later on? Just because like I want to be able to look up the description of the books. Can I yield to Chair Athey?
Yeah, how about I will accept your rankings until Senate next week. Well, do 5 o'clock on Wednesday next week so I have time to count them. How does that sound, Chair Morgan?
Sounds good. Thank you. I yield.
Yeah, you can give them to the front desk. I'll collect them there if you want. No, if you just set them there, they'll just leave them in a pile and I'll get them. It'll be fine. Okay, and with that, see y'all this week. I yield.
Chair of University Affairs.
All right, so hello everyone. So last week we met and we discharged Bill 5118, Bill 5119, and Resolution 5109. And this week we'll be looking at the Lex 5102, which will probably take like 20 minutes. So if you want to stop by the office for like less than 30 minutes, come to University Affairs Committee tomorrow on Thursday from 4 to 5. Well, it'll be 4 to 4:30 really, but yeah. All right, yield my time.
Moving on to caucus reports, Chair of Women's Caucus.
Hi everyone. I'm on Zoom tonight. But I really have nothing to report. We're supposed to meet this week, but we had low attendance 2 weeks ago, so we will not be meeting this week. That's all I have to report. Thank you, I yield.
Caucus of Diversity and Inclusion Caucus, Chair. Yeah. Seeing the Chair of Diversity and Inclusion Caucus is not here, we'll move on to legislative officer reports. Starting with Speaker Senate, who's also absent. We have no report from them. Also moving on to Speaker Pro Tempore. So, sorry everyone, this is going to be a little bit longer than my usual. But first of all, congratulations to the newly elected members. And we, as Senate leadership, all came to a consensus that we need to kind of determine what would be our kind of designated de facto end of Senate. And based on the general consensus of Senate leadership, we kind of ended on probably ending here on April 27th. So the 52nd Senate can move on to using May 4th so they can do all the ratifications, budget, etc. We just wanted to get a general opinion poll from everybody here in terms of how everyone feel about that, and we will open up to 10 minutes of discussion and debate on first raised placard. Senator Trout.
So just to clarify, we'll end. I know what I'm talking about. So end the night on the 27th as the 51st, and then will the 52nd be sworn in like first thing May 4th? Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. We're trying to get all our ducks in a row before, well, after May 27th. So,
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to make sure that was figured out. I yield my time.
Senator Sandoval?
I am speaking as Vice President-elect Sandoval tonight. I am currently working on the job descriptions, and there are 64 pages so far. So I just wanted to put that out there, let y'all know what we're working with, so that way y'all can use that information to make your decision. Thank you, I yield.
Senator Cadaceto Perez?
How would this look like for legislative cabinet elections?
So in terms of April 27th, that's where we hope that everything will, we'll get everything finished by May 4th, which we technically would still have a Senate session on that day. We would just cancel it as Senate leadership here. And then we'll just let the 52nd Senate just take up all the time that we would normally take, if that would make sense. Does that clarify your question?
Not really. So I guess this is a question that maybe other people have in mind as well. Because I personally don't know the answer to this question. How do y'all come to be for the 52nd? Because I assume that we'll have new elections, which I believe are in-house, from what I understand. I yield to whoever can answer that question.
Okay, so I'm just pretending that we're going to the plan that President Obama has suggested on the day of the 4th, then Speaker-elect DeSalvo will run Senate without a legislative cabinet until elections are held. And this is how it's run, even if the long night was last of 51 and first of 52 on the same night. Speaker-elect runs the Senate to elect the legislative cabinet. It's often the first agenda item. Sometimes the Senate decides that they want to ratify the executive cabinet first. And then it'll just be an election like we've had for many of the members of the legislative cabinet. So far this year, it's run the exact same way, just with only the speaker running the session until those people are elected. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Cool.
Any other speakers? And we would motion to have a quick little opinion poll. So if everyone's for with our last Senate session be on April 27th, can we please raise your placards high?
Associates can vote on this too, because it's how things are run.
Then point of information, Mr. Chair, is this vote binding? Is this going to be our final decision, or is it just, an opinion poll that we can use as a basis for making a decision later?
Considering this opinion poll is not binding. And those against, please raise your placards. And those abstaining? Sounds good. Thanks, y'all. With moving on to the next piece of my pitch is, after all the said and done with this bills, my calculations with the general fund will be at 27,500. Good job, everyone, for knocking that down. So round of applause to y'all. And last thing is, like everyone's been saying, obviously we're tying up 51st Senate, and we'll be moving on to the 52nd with judicials, Senate's executives, and the Senate's elections. If anybody's on the fence and just curious, like, will I be a good job? The answer is yes. That's usually the best attitude for a person in these positions, as I've seen in my personal experience. And the greatest words that I ever had to kind of motivate me is like, don't let fear decide your fate. So please let that sink in. And also, with my previous campaign becoming Speaker Pro Tempore, it was my family motto was "Promesa Surrender Sunt," promises are kept. So you may have forgotten, but I haven't on my campaign promise. And those who intend to be the next Speaker Pro Tempore, I will give you my number, and you'll have your free range just to call me, text me, and anything in regards for the fall, so that I can help you all out in terms of the transitionary period. But after the fall, I have to let it go, because I believe in order for you to grow, you need to eventually learn how to fly. So moving on to parliamentarian.
How can I follow that up? Before I begin my report, I'm going to go ahead and yield over to Chief Justice Freeman to conclude her report.
Sorry, y'all, I fricked up, so I'm just gonna correct myself very clearly. Christian and Mary they got 13.7 something percent. So that was absolutely my bad. Very much apologies to them. And the wrong document was uploaded last year for the ratification process. It was for the 49th. So it still was not ratified. They got 10%, was not ratified. Sorry about that one. Any questions after my mess up?
All right, I reclaim the floor. Just echoing Chair Silverheart's mention earlier that yes, I will be extending the deadline to legislation to Friday of this week. And then for bills appearing on the 27th, that will also be extended to Friday, that appropriate week, and so on and so forth. Just feel like the extension of those deadlines and making sure that we can get in as many bills and legislation as possible before our Senate concludes would be the best possible option for y'all. Sorry?
Can you use forgot one more thing?
Oh, sure. I'm going to yield over to Speaker Pro Tempore.
And sorry, y'all, this is coming from Advisor Deardahl. So any last minute bills will require an advisor signature and the Director of Finance signature, as that last minute week will need to be expedited. So just let you all know, last minute bills will require that extra step. So I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and so if anyone has any further clarifications about that, feel free to come to Speaker Pro Tempore Baum or myself. Other than that, I have been writing a bill. It is actually, funnily enough, being a parliamentarian for the last 2 years, this is the first bill that I've ever written, but I am sending it to the Senate Group Me right now. It's also going to be uploaded on the legislation tracker as well and in the weekly email next Monday. And thank you for everyone who endorsed it. We have enough endorsements and sponsorships to hit the floor, but in sum, it is a bill to create a Constitution caucus. I just felt like this was most helpful for the space in terms of rewriting the Constitution over the summer and next year for the 52nd Senate, and holding that space for people to come together, collaborate, and figure out a way to make this organization better with regards to our governing documents. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, there we go. For anyone else who's interested in running for parliamentarian, please reach out to me. I would love to work with y'all and get some advice and impart some advice and everything else within that realm, and just ensure that we have smooth transition over within our legislation and everything else that encapsulates. I will be here throughout the summer. I will also be here in August as well, but I am leaving for an education abroad trip in September, and I won't be back until the spring. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I yield.
Moving on to recruitment and retention officer.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Wow, I really don't know how to follow up with any of these. Yeah, so if y'all saw the weekly email from last week, there's two Google Docs to the eyeball. So the eyeball is like a yearly award ceremony for ASCSU. I'm going. I encourage y'all to go. And on those Google Doc forms, there's a few votes. So you get to vote for a bunch of associate senator and senator of the year. That's where we'll be holding our official vote for senator and associate senator of the year for for Senate. And then next week in next week's email, we'll be voting on senator and associate senator of the semester. So does anyone have any questions on that? No? Okay. And second, I do not plan on running for re-election for recruitment retention. If anyone is interested, I'd be happy to set up a meeting virtually or in person, or however anyone feels comfortable with that, just to kind of go over anything anybody wants to. I'm also happy to give people my phone number as well if you're interested. So yeah, I yield.
Thank you. Moving into Senator and Associate Senator reports. But first, we will move on to Senator of the Week. Can the current holder of Comito please come to the floor and pass Comito?
Point of personal privilege, if we want to do a drum roll, we're gonna snap our fingers because that's the most successful way. Thank you.
Hi y'all, I'm not gonna lie to you. I definitely didn't figure out who to give this to until maybe an hour ago. But I would personally like to shout out people who are super behind the scenes and don't necessarily get all the love that they deserve. So you're already staring at me because you know you're gonna get it. So come over here, Marcus. Sweet Marcus, and all the judicial back there does a lot of stuff for us. They answer all of the questions that we have, like through all types of spectrums. So I just want to hand this over. There's a lot of shock going on over there. I don't know.
Okay, we can clap. We just drum roll.
Please bring Comito in for next Senate session. Moving on to Senator Associate Senator reports, first race placard, Senator Trout.
Good evening, y'all. All right, so just some events that are going on at the University Center of the Arts for the next week or so, I think I'm gonna do. So let's see. We have, there's so many things going on, I apologize. On April 14th, tomorrow night at 7:30, there will be a jazz combo music event. To my understanding, that will be our jazz ensembles and whatnot. Go to that. On April 15th and 16th, there will be our spring dance concert. On the 16th, Saturday on the 16th, that will be accessible through live streaming tickets. And the April 15th concert, April 15th concert will be at 7:30. For the April 16th, which is a Saturday, there will be one at 2 p.m. and then 7:30 p.m. The live streaming tickets will be available for the 7:30 show. On April 18th, so next Monday, the faculty chamber recital will be happening. That will be at 7:30 as well. There will be in-person tickets and live streaming tickets available. Next up, we have the trumpet studio recital at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, April 19th. And the one I think y'all should really go to is the University Chorus Concert, April 19th at 7:30. There's options to be in person or live streaming. I am performing in that concert. Woo! It will be really exciting. So please go. We put in a lot of work and effort, and there's a lot going into it. There's some really cool songs in there, and I am really, really, really excited about it. And that's all I have for that. And with that, I yield my time.
Sure, Easy.
I want to update everyone on the green and gold book. First, based on the one response that I got to the potential fight song edition, I've added it to the back of the book. If you have thoughts on that, please let me know. Secondly, I have almost finished the book while working with the exec and judicial. However, I have a section titled Suggestions for Being an Active Member of ASCSU. And in that, I'm hoping to get input from any active members. That's not just Senate, that's all of ASCSU. If you want to write a blurb as advice for future members or have any questions, please send me an email. I yield.
Senator Sandoval.
Hey y'all, I have my vice president-elect hat on again. I have been receiving multiple questions about when the cabinet job descriptions will go live, and I'm finishing up them tonight. I'm hoping that we have don't look. I'm hoping to have them to Parliamentarian Clark by Friday, by the deadline. He was so gracious enough to extend the deadline, so thank you. With the Speaker Pro Tempor's permission, I would like to read out the job listings that we have, not necessarily go in depth, but just the titles.
That'll be fine.
Okay, so we have Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, Business and Community Liaison, Director of Academic Relations, Deputy Director of International Affairs, Director of Governmental Affairs, Deputy Director of State and Law Policy, Director of Campus Community, Director of Inclusion and Diversity, Deputy Director of Traditions, Deputy Director of Campus Safety, Director of Health and Wellness, Director of Housing Security, Deputy Director of Basic Needs, Director of Marketing, Deputy Director of Graphic Design, Deputy Director of Multimedia, Director of Finance, Deputy Director of Finance, and I'm realizing that I'm just missing note 2 on there. Director of Environmental Affairs, and Deputy Director of Sustainability. So if any of those pique your interests, let me know so I can keep an eye out for your application. And like I said, we're hoping to have those go live by next week. So I look forward to working with you. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Burge.
Hello, everyone. The College of Business has some great things coming up. Our biggest event of the entire school year is Business Day, and that will be next Thursday, April 21st from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the LSC Theater. Even if you aren't a business major, there are some awesome opportunities and some fantastic speakers that we have lined up. First off, we're going to have a fireside chat with a couple of speakers who will be there from local businesses. Then we have our athletic speaker, Jay Norvell, from 11:30 to 12:30. Then we have our women's panel from local businesses in the Fort Collins area. And then lastly, we have two speakers from the music business department at College of Business. So if either of those, or if any of those interest you, let me or any of the other College of Business senators know, and I hope to see all of you there.
Senator Correa.
Yeah, so I had a Lex on the agenda last week, which I was unable to present because I was not here for the first half an hour. I just want to go over it, just like give you an insight about it. It's a constitutional amendment to make sure that we pass our Senate job descriptions and bylaws within the time frame specified by the Constitution. Now, I have made some amendments in that Lex, which is my personal opinion. I would like you all to give your opinion. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Charity, it's going to be in Internal Affairs this week. So it's going to be in Internal Affairs this week. So if you want to have your say in it, and I'm totally open to literally any changes, because I want to make sure that we just function more efficiently. So if you want to have a say in it, I would request you to show up to Internal Affairs this week. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Carrasero Perez.
Hola, hola. My name is Camila Carrasco Perez. I use the she, her series pronouns. And I am the senator for El Centro, as I hope most of you know by this point. We just have our usual dialogue this Wednesday. Let me make sure. This one is about becoming a Hispanic serving institution. And it will be on the 20th from 5 to 6. That's all I have. I yield.
Sarah Deason.
This has less to do with Warner necessarily, but the Watershed Science Club is doing a Spring Creek cleanup this Saturday. So if any of you are interested, please let me know and I can help you sign up for that. I think it's just a great way to get outside, A, and B, serve your environment a little bit more. Thank you.
Senator Jim.
Good evening, NC here. So there's not much going on in the back office except that we have our annual Pursuit of Excellence Award ceremony on May 1st at 3 o'clock at the LSC Grand Ballroom. Thanks, I yield.
Chair Silverheart.
if you need an activity for after the watershed volunteering Saturday morning, Saturday night is the drag show. It's finally coming back. The theme is like resurrection drag show, and I know it's Easter weekend, so it's kind of funny. Ha ha ha. Was not my idea. But if you are not going home to celebrate Easter, or if you are staying in Fort Collins this Saturday, I highly recommend going. It's going to be an amazing time. People keep asking if I'm going to perform. I am not a drag queen yet. If we do it again next year, I promise y'all, I will pull something together. I will be running the tip runners, which are going to be the people in the crowd collecting money. So please bring dollar bills for the drag queens. All of the funds go to the Pride Resource Center for the scholarships that they provide for students through their office. So I highly recommend coming. I will be dressed up to the max, and I will also be wearing a red boa. So if you want a picture with Alex in a red boa, highly recommend coming. And then also to clarify, it is free to the public, but please bring dollar bills. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Seeing none, we'll move on to ending roll call. Acting parliamentarian, do the roll call.
I
Sarah
would like
Sand-
to make a motion.
Sarah Sandoval,
On behalf of Mr. Robert Wong, who is not able to join us due to a family emergency, I know this is the first and last time I'm only doing this to take notes. Can I motion for the fight song?
there was a second. All for?
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
Division. Moving on to placard votes. All those in favor of adding the fight song, please raise your placards.
Once. Join the dark side. Honor of
I asked.
All against, please raise your placards.
Bring it up on the screen.
Yes.
Got 2 no's. 2 no's.
Chair.
And those abstaining.
When you're done counting the vote, can I just amend it just to move it after roll call, just really fast? Is that fine?
And I would like to amend that amendment and ask Christian Dixon to lead us. After roll call. After roll call.
Okay. Well, with a vote to 10 to 6 to 1, the fight song will be included.
Okay, we have to vote on that part,
All we do.
because we already voted after any time.
We'll make the motion. So we have to vote on Chair Athey's amendment to have it after any roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
The ayes have it. Moving on to ending roll call.
Can I motion to use beginning roll call since I don't think anyone left?
Is there seconded? All for?
Aye.
All against?
Nay, I know that number showed up after roll call.
Oh.
Nay.
Do you still have the, do you still want to move on with the motion?
I keep my motion. Yeah.
Okay, well, division. So all those in favor using beginning roll call, please raise your placards. All those against? The nays have it.
Right.
Parliamentarian, please do the roll call.
Chair Athey,
Here.
Senator Bilodeau,
Present.
Senator Brown. Senator Brown, absent. Senator Burge,
Present.
Senator Cardosetto Perez,
Present.
Senator Correa,
Present.
Senator Deason,
Present.
Senator Epperson, Senator Kramer, Senator Long, Senator May,
Here.
Senator Mumford, Senator Nivert, Chair Morgan,
Present.
Senator Pyfrom, Chair Ritter, Senator Sandoval,
Here.
Senator Shepherd, Senator Schreier, Chair Silverheart, Senator Sheehan,
Present.
Officer Torres Doxy,
Present.
Senator Trout,
Present.
Chair Welch,
Present.
Senator Waller,
Present.
Senator Williamson, Senator Sanchez,
Present.
Senator Nguyen,
Present.
Senator Rencher,
Here.
Associate Senator Dorak, Associate Senator Quintana,
Here.
Associate Senator Reeves, Associate Senator DeFera, Associate Senator Abdunabi,
Here.
Speaker of the Senate Hunter is excused, Speaker Pro Tempore Baum.
Here.
All right.
Moving on to fight song. Will President Dixon, please come to the floor and lead us.
Start the clock to right. And, all right, let's rise if you're able. We'll jump in. Here we go.
All rise.
All rise. All right. We're gonna find our starting key here. All ready? Fight on you sour fancies on to the cold. Where the buffaloes lie as thunder, as down the fields we thunder. Knights of the green and gold, fly with all your might. Say what? Fight on you sour ram team, fight, 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 go Rams! All right, all right.
Where's the fight start?
Thank you, everyone. We adjourn.
Yes, go for it. Yep. Next Friday is the deadline, everybody.
Moving forward or just for this week?
Next week too.
Okay, this week.
Yeah. Awesome. We're adjourned.